Hello everyone and welcome to Off the Cuff, where the headlines come to life. And today we have Mayor Dan Paletko, the wonderful mayor of our grand city, Dearborn Heights, Michigan. Welcome, Mayor, to Off the Cuff.
Well, thank you for the invitation. When I heard about the fact we were doing this show, I've been looking forward to it.
Same here, same here. We've gotten some wonderful things happening in Dearborn Heights.
Yes.
A lot of commerce is coming in, but the most exciting thing right now is the purchase of the golf course, and that was sort of a brainchild of yours, and moving forward. Tell us about that, and what exciting things should we expect from that purchase?
Well, I'll start out by saying I'm not a golfer, so it's probably interesting.
Neither am I. I want to learn, though.
So there wasn't a self-motivation to have a golf course that somehow, but it came about, and we work on 5- and 10-year plans. I'm constantly looking at those kinds of tools, and we did not have the purchase of the Warren Valley Golf Course in the plan. We found out that the county was about ready to sell what we know as the Warren Valley Golf Course and the Banquet Center, and that they were selling it to a private developer for $1.8 million. What we found out was that they were going to put up about 200 homes. And housing is always a good thing. However, in this particular case, all of us who live around here and know that when it rains, Edward Hines Parkway and the golf course is flooded. And so the concern was, where would that water go? And Commissioner Diane Webb had a meeting at Warren Valley Banquet Center back in February, and the county said, well, once it's developed, the sewer system and dealing with that problem is the city's problem.
Responsibility.
And immediately I was concerned that we would have an Ecorse Creek, which is a problem we have in the south end of Dearborn Heights, but now we would have a north end problem with the Rouge River and Warren Valley. And I made a recommendation. I wrote a letter to County Executive Evans, but I asked the council for permission first, and I said, I think we should purchase the property for $1.8 million, because I think it could cost us $50 to $100 million to do sewage control and all that would be related to that. Plus, we'd probably never be able to assure that we could keep that water out of each of our basements. So the council approved it. I wrote a letter to Warren Evans, and we started negotiations. The county executive said that he would sell the property for the same price, $1.8 million. And so we're at a state right now where we're doing due diligence, and we're surveying, and we're also auditing to find out how financially the current operation. I think there's a lot of potential. I go to banquet centers, I'm sure you do also, in the area.
Right.
They don't get that many banquet business there, and I think that there's a great untapped potential.
It's a beautiful facility.
Gorgeous. Overlooks the golf course.
Sure.
Neighbors, people who are into golfing, tell me that they think the course is underutilized. The city does not have the expertise of running a banquet center or running a golf course. So what we'll do is we'll put out an RFP, get people that run those kinds of operations, have them come in, run it for the city. I originally thought it would be great if we could break even. I'm starting to get more encouraged that that could be a moneymaker for the city of Dearborn Heights, and I don't think it'll be a draw on our particular financial situation. The other thing came up, we had residents who said, well, Mayor, where's the money going to come? Are you going to go out for a tax increase? Are you going to ask for bonding? We do not. Financially, at one point, when the downturn came back in 2008 and the housing collapsed, the city had about a $5 million deficit. We were able to turn that $5 million deficit into a $5.4 million surplus. The 1.8 million will come out of the 5.4 million surplus. So it does not have a negative effect on our operation, and we're going to end up with a golf course and a banquet center.
That's amazing. I think that's really exciting. And like you said, it's not looking just as a $1.8 million investment in breaking even. I really do see a lot of potential for this golf course. Is there any plans of maybe building anything else on it at all and utilizing portions of it, or is it all going to be a golf course?
Right now, we were going to maintain it as is, and that's the direction we're going in. And like I indicated, we'll get operators for the banquet center and the golf course. There's not an intent to develop it in any different fashion at this point. But first, the city has to gain ownership of it, and then we can talk about
moving forward.
But I've assured the voters and residents that it would be my intent to maintain the golf course and maintain the banquet center.
And you're right, the banquet center is very underutilized, and I think it's a huge secret that we have in Dearborn Heights, so we need to get that secret out so people will come in and
last year, because a lot of people don't know, I do have the power to perform weddings. I don't do a lot of weddings, but occasionally.
Sure.
And there was a local Dearborn Heights, I was honored, a woman that lived in the area I've known, and she was getting married, and she asked me if I would preside on the wedding. And it was first class. The food was excellent, the surroundings.
Beautiful, yeah.
As presider over with the golf course all in the background, I just thought it's just so underutilized. It was such a great facility.
Well, you had a vision, and you went after that vision. So we're looking forward to seeing where that goes. And I think a little bit of marketing and letting people know that it's there, that they can utilize it. We have such a gorgeous, entity in our own city, and you're right, it's underutilized. So hopefully.
People told me it's a Ross designed course, and apparently he was a very famous golfer many years ago. Probably like the Tiger Woods and the Jack Nicholson that I recognize, even though he was that kind of a golfer, and so he designed that course. So he designed courses all around the world, and so it's a particular significant course, and we think we can do something with it.
Well, I'm going to get golfing lessons.
Okay.
I really am. I'm pretty good at putt-putt, but I gotta figure this whole thing out. The new water safety procedure, that has been an amazing thing that's been implemented within the city, and you look at Flint, and even my daughter lives in Livonia, and they even had they had a have to boil the water for quite a while as well. So I know that you implemented something here that's going to protect us from that issue.
One of the advantages of having been in public life for some time is that I found out about a new product, and it's the company's called AquaSite. And what it does is, most of us look at water systems, and even the Great Lakes Water Authority, because I've had Sue McCormick, who's a good friend of mine, on my show, and we've talked about it. Most of them grade the water quality on a pass-fail. Where they miss is trends. And so AquaSite is a computer program in which they came in and they installed in our Department of Public Works, in which they map out all of the water lines to all of our homes. So number one, it gave us a clear picture of all of the entire water system. We have 6 intakes from Great Lakes Water that we grab water from them and bring it in. We basically use 2. In the north end, we grab our water from Inkster Road outlet, and in the south end, it's similar. And so that those 2 service most of all of Dearborn Heights, but there are 4 other outlets we could use. But everything is monitored that, does it meet the standards, then it passes. What this program does is takes all the data, and Great Lakes Water Authority is sharing with us their data, and the Dearborn Heights data will be installed, and it looks for trends. And why that's important is that maybe in a particular section of the city, the water quality might have been a 90% rate, and then next time you tested it was 80%. Next time it was 70.
The accuracy is
So
skewed.
what it's showing us is that the system, for some reason, is creating. There's a problem there, and don't wait till it gets below 50% to correct it. So this program does all the analyticals and tells us when problems start to develop, and that will ensure that we can then meet that before it fails, and then people respond, because that's the way the system is designed all through the state of Michigan,
Right,
and really all
it's
through the United States.
reactive rather than
It's
proactive.
reactive when it fails. And what we said was, no, if it shows 90% and it drops to 80 or 70, we need to
Got a
go in and
problem.
look and find out why that happened, get it back up to 90. So we're going to be well into that pass area, high-end pass, and this program will do that. It is at a cost of about 2 cents a homeowner a month, so it's not real
That's
expensive.
affordable. I think that's affordable.
But I want to make sure, like I'm drinking Dearborn Heights water
Right,
here, is
right.
that it's good, clean water. And where really came in is we were having earlier this year where people in the south end of Dearborn Heights started to call my office, and after we responded like real quick to try to find out. In fact, I had a meeting with Sue McCormick to find out, but they were getting cloudy, and then they
Yellowish.
felt that the water smelled of the rotten egg smell, like they put in the gas company.
Sulfur or something?
So yeah, and so we immediately had it tested. The problem is, and it's been a long time since I had chemistry in college, but a gas will, by the time you take the water and you send it to a lab and it's tested, the gas evaporates. And so every test came out that they said, well,
was negative.
but when you have 3 different residents, and then we sent a crew out and they said, Mayor, yeah, the water tap smells of sulfur, and it's clearly that rotten egg smell. And so we were wondering if a gas line, but 3 different residences, all in different parts of the city. So it told me that we needed to do more than just rely on Great Lakes Water Authority, although I do have high reliance on them. Sue McCormick said, we want to know how this works, keep us posted. Maybe this is something that if it works real well, we're going to buy it for the whole system.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
I'm proud of the fact that that innovation, and immediately when the council saw the presentation, they immediately everybody wanted
sold
to make
on
the
it.
motion to put this into effect. But I feel like our water is far better and being monitored far beyond anything. So, and the one reason this program got written is they always caution me, but I'm going to say what happened. We're Central Michigan University, I'm trying to think, Mount Pleasant. The water quality on campus, where the campus is, always deteriorated during the summer, and they couldn't figure out what it was. So this guy wrote a program that we're utilizing, and he found out that the monitoring, that when students were gone for the summer, less water was being used, so it was sitting in the pipe.
So it was
and
accumulating.
It was accumulating. And so after a couple of weeks, when the kids were all back at school and they were showering and they're doing all the water supply,
Right.
went
It
back
was
to
fine.
normal. So this program showed them where the level was. So originally it was written and adopted for Mount Pleasant, Central Michigan University, and proven to be accurate. I just think it's a good tool for those of us that use water, provide water, and we're just ensuring even that high standard throughout the year.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's all about improving services within the city,
Yeah.
and I think that has been your vision since you've taken office. You've also implemented a wonderful addition to the fire department in regards to an additional ambulance and additional firefighters. I'm sure Chief Dave Brogan is elated and very happy, but tell us about that. And
Yeah.
and you have, I mean, the city's pretty much covered completely at this point.
Yeah, the difficulty in what was showing up is that, and this is not only true of Dearborn Heights, but it's true of the whole metropolitan area, and especially older communities, Dearborn, Allen Park, Dearborn Heights, Taylor, is that the ambulance runs have been going up like 20-25% year over year. So we were still operating with a rescue, and we have always one backup. We always take the vehicle that replaces the frontline engine and use it as a backup, so that we always have a good backup procedure. But there was only enough manpower to run one ambulance at both units. So if a second call came in, sometimes the north end unit would go south, or a south end unit would come north. But what was becoming apparent to all of us was the fact that we needed an additional ambulance unit to service the people, because if it's a heart attack, choking, whatever the situation is, time is of the essence. And so consequently, we funded the additional firefighters, and we now have a third squad. And so that is allowing us to provide the same kind of standards we were able to provide like 10, 15 years ago even, where the response time is at that level. And that's allowing us to do it because this extra rig and extra fire. And all our firefighters are all the highest caliber they can, so they can administer and do a lot of things that can only be done at a hospital. A lot of people don't know, when you call a private ambulance, they're very limited.
Right.
But our firefighters are so well trained and keep up the training that they're able to be in contact with the hospital. They can administer drugs. They can do a lot of the life-saving things that only an advanced life support EMS type operation can provide. And we do that. They're all licensed. And we made it a department standard, so everybody, including the chief, is at that same level, so that it doesn't make any difference who and where they're at. You're getting that same professional care that is being provided. And I you know, as a resident, if I have an accident, I want to have the accident in Dearborn Heights, because I know that I can get full care as they do the emergency repair.
And what's good is, like you said, you know, if you have an issue that's simultaneous, and you have a heart attack or somebody choking, I mean, now you have the capacity to answer those calls without wasting precious time. So that's definitely something that residents and citizens can feel comfortable with. I mean, exactly what you said. I mean, it is scary when you have a situation, you're calling the ambulance and you're waiting, you know, 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, you don't want to wait 10, 15,
so,
you know, and we try to respond all over the city within 2 to 3 minutes.
Sure.
But you know, the firefighters came to me and told me that, you know, the times, and we could see the times moving up, and they go, Mayor, we need to bring these down. Well, how do we bring this down? And it was agreed that, well, if we had one additional rescue squad, we can get back to those magic numbers that are very critical. And it's only during high volume time. But it is interesting when you look at the calls, there are some time periods in a day, and for some reason, like dinner time seems to be one of them, but you could end up with a situation that, let's say we have a serious car accident on Telegraph Road, that takes our ambulance out of service. If you have your heart attack at the same time that they're there, that's one difficulty. Well, now we have a second ambulance that can, or a third, really, we have 3 of them, that will be able to respond. So it really takes a fourth call that causes us difficulty, but then mutual aid kicks in, and we'll make a call over to Garden City, to Dearborn, and now to Taylor, because Taylor has come back on with ambulance service. So we're very well protected.
That's great. We don't want to leave anything to chance.
No.
Absolutely. You've got a lot of initiatives in the pot moving forward. And you also are working with the Taylor Mayor Sellers, and Ford Motor Company. So you were telling me earlier it's the old Masco site. So what do we have planned for that?
Very interesting. In January of each year, Mayor O'Reilly of Dearborn and I talk to the Chamber of Commerce, and so it's a Tale of Two Cities, they call it. Right. So last year,
I love that event, by the way. It's a good one.
Last year, I'm at the event, and I mentioned the fact that we needed to do a that I had been working with Mayor Sollers of Taylor, and we were going to work on a joint project to renew and really give a jump start to Van Born Corridor. In light of the fact that Kmart's closed and Masco was moving to Livonia. Little did I know, but the president of Ford Land, who I used to work at Ford Land when I worked at Ford Motor Company, but that was for Wayne Doran. So now this is a couple presidents after that. He came up to me after the meeting and he says, I need office space. Ford is going to redo their engineering operations, and I need space, a lot of space. That Masco might be my answer. So clandestinely, Masco, Ford Motor Company, and the two mayors were meeting back in February, March. We were under orders not to say anything that it could disrupt this. But I called Mayor Sollers and I go, Ford's interested in your Masco site, but you can't tell anybody. So he got the Masco people together. I got the Ford people, and we all met at Dearborn Heights City Hall for the first couple meetings. And Masco is selling the building, as I understand it, to Ford Motor Company. Masco felt that still an obligation for the city of Taylor. So we've talked about the two corporations maybe even contributing some money, and we have talked to and received a proposal from the Impact, Wade and Trim, who are our city planners, and also Taylor. And they're coming up with ideas to revitalize the Van Born Corridor, and I'm really excited. I think this is really going to, but we're now going to have 1,000 new employees who are coming
into the
to the area, and so that's going to be because a lot of the Masco people were moving to Livonia, so it was going to create a huge vacuum. We now filled the vacuum with Ford Motor Company, with more employees, and with their help, I'm really excited. I think Van Born's going to really look nice.
Definitely, it's going to definitely be revitalized, and even the businesses around there are going to, find advantage from having this. That's within our city, we've really seen an increase in commerce, and we've seen a lot of businesses come in and make their home in Dearborn Heights, and it's just been absolutely amazing. As a planning commissioner, I've seen it firsthand, and Wade Trim has been wonderful in making sure that
that is true. But one of the compliments, because I think it goes without saying, is that we've been very fortunate in the investment the Arab American community has come into Dearborn Heights, and when you look at a lot of the new businesses that have come in, it's been a result that they've made this their home, and they brought in the businesses that's following the individuals. And so on the Ford Road corridor, we're starting to see some really nice innovative development. I think Warren Avenue is about ready to take off, and I think Van Born, and when you couple the Van Born with the Ford Motor Company coming in, coupled with the Ecorse Creek project that the Army Corps of Engineers is hopefully going to start, you're watching a older community, an inner suburb, who is really developing significantly. And I know that I don't want to mention the communities to get other mayors upset, but they have sat there and said, we see what's going on in your city, and how are you doing it? What are you doing that some of the others a little bit to the south and to the east of us are not sharing
realizing
it? And that's because. And so I'm proud of the fact that what we have going here.
Absolutely. Dearborn Heights is a place to be in so many different ways.
We're going to keep you busy on the Planning Commission because there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out that I'm aware of.
Absolutely. There's amazing things coming before us at the Planning Commission. A lot of different businesses, that roastery. I
haven't tried that yet.
It's really wonderful. I've tried it downtown, so it's really nice to have it now in our own backyard. And, the other businesses that are going in is really great. And you know what? It's wonderful, too, that those individuals individuals that are coming in, they realize the parameters. They realize, their site plans have to be, on target, and they realize that the safety of the residents is vital. And so, it's a good working relationship, and then we have Waitrim, as our consultants, and so I think, with those three entities working together, commerce has really been one of the highlights of Dearborn Heights and basically your administration as well. You mentioned the Ecorse Creek project. I know we only got a few more minutes, so the Army Corps of Engineers is coming in and trying to eliminate that flooding issue, as well as maybe clean up the Ecorse Creek.
Well, how that came about was I was mayor for 2 months, and we had this major flood in the south end of Dearborn Heights. We'll never forget it.
Absolutely.
So what we did is we ended up working with, back then, with the county, Kurt Heisey, who's now the supervisor in Plymouth Township area. And Kurt Heisey and I worked together to basically get that there was a problem there, and under Chapter 8 of the State of Michigan Drain Code. Once we established that, then the city of Dearborn Heights sued Wayne County and said, you've established there's a problem, now you have to solve it. So the county started working on it, came up with a plan, very expensive plan. Then we went back into court, and the county said, what if we can get the Army Corps of Engineers to work on the plan? They'll pay for 65 cents on a dollar. So we agreed because it's a $350 million project. So it's taken a long time, but the Army Corps of Engineers will be coming out with their final report this year. Once they do, it then goes to Congress and the President for funding. And that's when the political power
takes over.
And I've talked to both Democrats and Republicans. John Dingell gave me a lot of assistance as to who to make contact in. It's taken a long time, and it took a long time for the Rouge River project in Dearborn, that channelization.
Right.
But the Ecorse Creek will eliminate basement flooding, other house flooding for just about everybody. We'll be able to get them out of paying flood insurance, which is a very expensive handicap for them, and beautify the area, because it will be like a mini Edward Hines. You won't be able to take cars, but we could have bike trails, walking tracks, and the whole creek from Inkster to where it leaves and enters Allen Park over by Outer Drive Southfield will be completely revitalized.
That sounds amazing. And you know what? It's solution oriented. I mean, there needs to be a solution.
We've been working on that for 14 years.
Absolutely.
But to get it to this point, I had an engineer who came up to me and he said, this is the closest you guys have gotten to getting this project passed. He said, kudos to everybody working on it, and it is the closest, and hopefully President Trump and Congress will agree that this should be a high.
Yeah, let's hope he's reasonable on this one. That sounds like a reasonable request, definitely. Mayor, I think we have 1 more minute. What would be your message to the citizens of Dearborn Heights moving forward in terms of your vision?
I think this is just a great place to have your family, to live here. We offer just a great diversity. It's just a great place I grew up here. I think my kids grew up here. I think it's a great place to grow up. And I just think we get one of the best things going in the state of Michigan.
I think you're absolutely right. I love it here. I've been a citizen and a resident for many years, and my kids grew up here, and there's so many exciting things happening year after year.
Well, there's people like you that make this a great place. I mean, you are one of them.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate
That's the truth.
Thank you. And I feel the same way about you and about the things that are happening in Dearborn Heights. And thank you so much for being on Off the Cuff. I appreciate everything that you are doing, and I appreciate you being on the show. And thank you all for joining us on Off the Cuff. And Dearborn Heights, it's a place to be.